Welcome back to the lunch table, Food for Thought. I'm Nico Blitz. Make sure you hit that subscribe button at the bottom left-hand corner. We're also on his side.
Is that the right?
His
Yeah.
side. Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, YouTube, and I would be shameful if I did not say the beloved iHeartRadio app.
Otherwise, we're fired.
Exactly.
Pretty much, you know.
And he's saying we because good friend and also coworker, on-air personality at KIIS FM, but that is just one of many accolades in his long career in the entertainment industry. Jojo on the radio.
What's up,
Jojo
man?
Wright. What's going on?
I'm pumped to be here. I've been seeing Nico's his blog pop up, in my feed, and I think you were walking down the hall one day. I'm like, I want to do your podcast. I'm like, all right, cool. So here we are. I thought you filmed it at the radio station all this time. I don't know why I thought that.
No. Because I was over here scared thinking that they wouldn't let me film over there, so I had to kind of finesse a way in which, how can I be close to work, but also get these guests in such a central area? So I was actually living in Alhambra at the time, and then once this spot opened up, I'm like, sweet.
No kidding.
We're gonna
so
do
you
it.
moved to this apartment basically for this
In a way, yeah,
podcast.
just to make it easier for everybody, because I found that my production is picked up a lot more since I've moved out here, because literally everyone's over here in Hollywood.
Right. I bet you they would. I mean, keep doing it here. If this is the sweet spot, it kind of gets you out of the building. But I bet they would let you do it there. I mean, why wouldn't they? Just get clearance for a camera. I mean, we shoot stuff there all the time.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the.
I mean, I think clearance is the first thing, but also too, like, I still like the essence of this being in my studio.
Right.
Because I see the way Homegrown Radio has came up, and it was just starting off at like Chuck's apartment, and then it just evolving into eventually making its way through the iHeart building. So
Right.
I'm like, okay, like I feel like I'm kind of on the same path ish, and I feel like every personality in a sense has to go through that.
Maybe so. By the way, speaking of Homegrown Radio, they've done so well. And the one thing I've always have you late at night you'll see Homegrown Radio, or not late, anytime you'll see them trending. And it's the mystery, they do great, but the one thing I'm trying to figure out is when they're trending, when something trends on Twitter, you normally see a tweet or two that is just stupid, it's just exploded. Like somebody retweeted and it's just, I've seen them trend, and then I'll check the individual tweets, people retweeting. I've never seen one tweet just crazy. So how do they trend? What is their secret?
I mean, I think a secret is that they're extremely tapped in with the people from Los Angeles, right? So then normally when you're on Twitter, it'll bring up the trending topics in your area. So considering they've been working with, the same artist for maybe 10 plus years, one retweet from a Kendrick Lamar, for example, will blow up the entire thing.
Well, I'm saying I get that part, but I've seen them trend, and I can't locate that Kendrick Lamar retweet.
Got you.
So why? I get that part because I've trended like that as well, But I just can't. I don't understand how they trend without that one tweet blowing up. Unless maybe I'm just missing it. But I don't even think I don't know if they know the secret, but they found the secret without. It's I'm convinced at least once or twice I've looked at it, and I didn't see that Kendrick retweet or that whoever retweet, the Snoop or whoever, and yet they're trending. So they've cracked some code.
I think it's a mixture between creating something that is damn near viral and also trending at the same time. Because I noticed listening to their podcast a lot, they touch on topics that happen during the week.
Right.
And I'm not even sure, because even a news cycle lasts really just in one day. So I don't know how you do a podcast that summarizes the entire week but still trends on that one day.
The only podcast or show that I've seen that trends on the week's news is probably the what's his name's The Week in a Day. What's the guy's name?
I haven't seen
on HBO. Oh God, John Oliver's.
Okay.
Whatever that. He does a good job of that. But then again, that's HBO, and they have the muscle of everything behind it. Homegrown Radio, they got something going on. Not that here I'm interviewing you. I'm sorry, but I love Chuck and I love Head, of course, and they really have. I don't know, something special going on. And they've branched in their own direction, yet they've stayed together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I don't know, they really got something really cool happening. And of course, Head with his West Coast, and
of course,
Chuck's launching with his Dad Vice. I'm not sure if that's taken off for him or not, but he seems to, it's cool to watch, So he's taking that father thing into the hip hop world. Granted, it's just something that in my eyes, when I look at hip hop, everybody's trying to be super cool, you know.
Yeah.
And which maybe I'm just I will never be that. I've never been the cool guy, but Chuck he's a dad, and I think that's so neat. I'm not trying to be cool. I'm just a dad, and here's my dad advice, and he's getting advice from, you know, Kendrick to whoever, and it's just kind of a neat thing.
I will say this, like hip hop's always been that genre or that culture in which everyone does want to be cool, and I don't think being cool as a dad wasn't relevant up until a couple years ago, up until Chance the Rapper had his kid.
Right.
And then I noticed after that, a lot more people were being open about fatherhood, and I'm just like, okay, is this becoming a thing now only because one of the biggest rappers of today is doing it, or has this always been there and there just hasn't been that voice to speak for it?
I would like to think it's always been there, and probably along the same, you know, wavelength. But maybe I guess when it comes to what you put out,
yeah,
you kind of put the what's right and wrong aside. Not really what's right and wrong, but what's marketable, and maybe not to make it in a negative way, because, you know, I'm doing a family vlog now. We're about to launch this family vlog, and I probably wouldn't have done that if somebody didn't tell me that it's going to be like there's a market for this now. You know, even though I love my family, I probably wouldn't have spent a ton of time filming them, putting them on YouTube, if nobody's going to watch it. You know, and maybe nobody will watch it. I don't know, but it's probably the exact same thing. Maybe now there is. Maybe, you know, because you have to separate your business and personal at a time, and then when you can share, when both combine, and you can do business and family at the same time, then it's real special. But maybe they thought, and I thought that, God, nobody's gonna want to watch me and my family be boring on YouTube, you know. And maybe for example, nobody thought that in the hip hop world when it came to family until Chance. Oh my God, Chance, you know, God, he makes that look pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
And if you know another thing, this is not really the hip hop world, but the YouTube family, the Ace family.
Okay.
Have you seen Ace Fam?
I haven't.
Dude, this family, I just met them for the first time maybe a month ago, you know.
Well, you interview all the YouTubers every Tuesday.
Yeah, every Tuesday we do this thing. We just started this. Well, I've interviewed, you know, social influencers and YouTubers and whatnot for a while, but never this, you know, consistent.
This much output, yeah.
Yeah, and
so you meet the Ace family.
I met the Ace Fam, and I'd never met them. Matter of fact, we had a guest scheduled on this particular Tuesday night, and then somebody cut out. You know, they couldn't make it. I forget who it was. So a buddy of mine named Shiraz, who is a big, he's a talent scout, you know, or not really. He's sort of an agent, not really, based in L.A. and Dubai. You know, I've known him for a while. He used to own Millions of Milkshakes. If you know Millions of Milkshakes, you know that.
Oh, I thought you meant like literally a million milkshakes.
No, there was a company. He may have, you know, but he might have. But there was a store, used to be on Santa Monica Boulevard, called Millions of Milkshakes. I'm not even sure if it's still there. And like Paris Hilton would come in and she'd have the Paris shake, and then Demi would come by and they'd have the Demi shake, and then he branched the store out to Dubai, and he became he kind of had a little thing going, you know. He was tight with Paris, I know. He brought Kim Kardashian to Dubai, you know, that kind of. He's that guy. So he called us up and he said so and so family can't make it on Tuesday, but I got the Ace family. You want to? They're huge. But he always says they're huge. You know, like, okay, sure, they're huge. Let's bring them in. And they came in and did their thing. And he was talking about it's a couple and they have 2 little kids. Speaking of making families cool, and they came in and they were telling me about how they last year did a charity basketball game at the USC, you know, basketball arena.
Okay.
And they sold it out. I'm like, are you kidding me? Because we got one coming up at Staples. You got a charity this family that I really, because I don't watch YouTube videos every day, you know, but I'm like, you're telling me that somebody that I really don't know that well has a YouTube channel that, whatever, is going to sell out Staples Center. And I don't know if I couldn't give you a ticket count, but they sold out. They basically sold out. If
That's
not,
crazy.
Staples was just this last weekend. And it was the Ace family. They took on Chris Brown. But trust me, granted, Chris Brown has his fans, but they did it because of the Ace
that just
family.
Happened like this past weekend or something. Yeah.
Massive. We left, that night I left the building, 10 o'clock. My radio show's on 7p to 10p on KIIS. Left the building. Fans are outside of the building waiting for this Ace family that you've never heard of and that I had just met 30 minutes before. It's crazy. I mean, and they They do. I don't know what their secret is, but they're a family. Being a family's cool now. You know,
Yeah.
it must be. That's one of the. That's not a. Oh, you're uncool. You're just, you know. There's a marketability to that now. And it's probably. I'm just. You know, we're probably all a little late to the game. It's been like that for a while on, you know, the travel channels and the, you know, the mom and pop channels and whatnot. But now it's spreading into all media. Snoop Dogg's a great example. I mean, he's even though Snoop is one of those few guys he's been on both sides. He can roll with the hardest of the hard, yet he's a youth football coach.
Well, yeah.
And it's just he's
I mean, who would have ever known he would have made Doggy Style and then be on a cooking show
with Martha Stewart? Martha may be harder than him, you know. She's got her street cred, but it's things are changing in so many different ways, and it's hard to keep up. And nobody knows everything. It's so many different, you know. But it's kind of an exciting time, you know. Podcast. I mean, it's such an exciting. I mean, the days of just having to rely on network TV or a record label to get your music or your product out are over. You have so many things that you can do on your own. Now, granted, it's always good to, hey, HBO calls you up and says, hey, Nico, let's do this. You're like, of course, I'm going to do it. But you don't need that to get it going now. It's something you can just Homegrown Radio, a great example, you know. So I think times are changing in a lot of cool ways, which I'm super excited about.
So, considering that you were in this era where the internet wasn't as accessible, like, you know, YouTube wasn't even around, Instagram, Twitter, all of that wasn't even around, like, do you feel like it's a lot more advantageous to be around in media during this time now that everything is so much more accessible and you're able to output as much of yourself and your content today?
100%. I think right now it's better than it's ever been. And people will tell me, they'll come to me at times and they'll say, and you're going to hear this too, working on Real 92.3 or any radio station, man, radio's dead. Radio's dead. It's all about everything else. And here's what I'll say to that. If you're a radio station, just look at what you do on the radio as content. Look at Nico as content or Jojo as content. Forget the terrestrial radio for a second. It's just you are content, and you put it anywhere you can get it.
Yeah.
And if somebody said, hey, you got this super successful YouTube show, but we're going to put you on an LA frequency, and there's only 20 of them in all of LA. And granted, you can say what you want about radio and this and that. It's just radio will probably always be around in some way because it's so convenient. You hop in your car, click. And for example, KIIS FM. Look at it as content. It's on 102.7, obviously. Mm-hmm. It's on the iHeart app. Now, not every station in the country has an app to jump on, but you need to be everywhere you can. We're on the iHeart app. We're on smart speakers. You know, we're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on, you know, and granted, we can grow, do better or worse in some areas, but you just got to be everywhere. So any radio station that's just a terrestrial signal, you might have a point there.
Got you.
But if you look at it as just content and you can be everywhere, man, what's not to love about that, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, years ago, this hadn't happened in a while to me, but years ago, some people would say, man, I don't want to do the social network. Like, some dude's just too cool. I'm like, Instagram. I'm like, trust me, dude, you need to get on this thing. Because if I told you could have a magic button and you could push this button and just communicate with all your fans, you don't have to wait to talk to a dude on the radio to get your message out or some, you know, network. You just push. Now, granted, the trick is getting fans and then getting them to, you know, subscribe to your button. But at a certain point, hit that button and you speak to them.
But then even at that point, you're not only competing with people within terrestrial radio, you're competing with people who could literally just be in their apartment. Somebody could literally just be in their basement, go on Instagram Live, and that automatically becomes your competition. Like, I think it was I forgot what award show it was this year. I want to say it was probably the MTV Music Awards, right? And then this influencer actually captured more viewers than the actual award show did.
Was that who was Nikki? I had an influencer in the other day. Was it the Victoria's Secret?
Probably.
What's her name?
Nikita Dragon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which she came in the other day as well. I guess there was some controversy with Nikita because I don't know how to word this, and I don't want to get it wrong, but Victoria's Secret said they would never put a transgender person in the fashion show. I may be wording that wrong, but something
something along those lines.
Something like that. Nikita said, "Well, I'll do my own," and and granted, she told me the story, and I'm sure I'm wording it wrong. So Nikita, I'm sorry, but I
watch the interview.
Yeah, I love you. You know I love you, Nikita. But she did her own thing, and it got more views than the Victoria's Secret fashion show.
Wow.
Which, and granted, I can't verify that. I assume she's telling me the truth, but that's pretty massive. But then again, if you're, it's competition. But a lot of these YouTubers, the smart ones, they will, collab with other YouTubers and kind of build themselves up. Like, I don't know Lele, but Lele's just massive. Lele has she'll.
Well, it's all cross promotion.
Yeah, it's all cross promo. That's one thing radio never figured out. We've been in granted iHeart. With an iHeart family now, we kind of cross promo to some degree, like you're.
Well, I hear you on our station now, and I'm over here like, are we on KIIS FM or are we on the hip hop station? What are we doing,
dude? Oh my God! I was listening to Real. This is I have these ads that run for Auto Nation Toyota. That's probably what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's the one.
And I am I say this with pride. I'm not I do a lot of self-deprecating humor because I'm a nerd, but I'm proud of it. I'm such a geek, but that's my brand. That's who I am. But and Real is just, you guys are. I mean, if I take a pic, if I stand next to any one of you guys, you can tell I'm just such a geek, and you guys are so cool. But I mean that with all love because I'm not trying to say I'm a terrible person. I'm just a geek. So that said, I'm listening to Real, and this is back. When Nipsey had passed, and which I'd never met Nipsey. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
This has nothing to do with Nipsey, but it was during that time, and you guys had gone. You're in a mix. This was kind of late at night. You're in a mix, just hard hitting Nipsey, just boom and boom and boom. Yeah. And then you came back, and I think it was Chuck on, said something just awesome, and I forget who was DJing. She came on, and they were just everything was just boom, just fire. And then the first commercial you go into was, "Hey, it's JoJo." I was like, "Oh God!"
Oh shoot!
But it sounded, it was funny, If I mean, not, it's just it's such a contrast. But it kind of makes sense, and you guys have welcomed me onto your station, and it was kind of neat, But it was just so and then to that, I'm like, it was just.
Yeah, it was a hard left for
it was
sure.
Definitely a hard left, but it's an honor to be on, Real in that little small snip from time to time, and it's crazy to be listening to like Coast when they're playing Christmas music, and they all pop on the Coast station.
Oh yeah.
But I think that's my only. I'm not sure. I think that's the only thing I have running on Real at this point. I think.
I think that's it. But then all I know is anytime me, Head, and Kev are just when we actually have the volume all the way up, and we're just like, oh, JoJo's back on here. Yeah, we must be in spots right now.
Oh man, that's funny.
So JoJo, how'd you even get into radio?
I grew up in Texas, near Houston, and I wanted to
near Houston, so not Houston.
Not Houston, but fairly close to it, kind of suburb. When it like L.A., it would be the Woodland Hills of L.A. That it was a little suburb, small town. I mean, nothing was going on in the town. It's smaller than Woodland Hills. I mean, that's probably a bad comparison, but about an hour out. I'm trying to think of another city. Whatever. An hour or so outside of Houston. It's small town. Farms, barns, nothing happening. So I wanted to do something, I'm super shy, but for some reason the media I kind of gravitated to the media, and I felt like, I guess maybe I thought I had something to say. I don't know. I can't really, I'm kind of putting words, I'm kind of trying to find my reason why I did it after the fact, because I can't tell you exactly back then why I did
what
it.
Sparked it or anything. Yeah.
But I know I wanted to do something in this media kind of world, and I probably would have tried like a television angle at first, but I just didn't know how to audition for TV shows. I mean, literally, there were barns and cows in my surrounding area.
That's crazy.
Like LA, you want an agent, you can probably find an agent at some point. You may not get the one you want, but you can find an agent.
But over there, you're more likely to become a farmer, if anything.
100%. And you're not exaggerating at all. I mean, I was in for FFA in high school, which is Future Farmers of America.
Oh my God.
4-H, which is 4-H is kind of like that. I forget what 4-H stands for, but 4-H was like the early version of FFA. And I probably thought as a kid I wanted to be a bull rider, like in the rodeo. That was one of my oh my God, I want to do that someday. My dad wouldn't let me do it because I would probably get killed.
Jojo on the rodeo.
I mean, oh my, that would have been funny, right? And I used to have bucking barrels set up in my backyard where you put this barrel and you drill a hole in it, and you tie it to the top of the barn because we had a barn, and or my grandfather did. And you'd have one friend kind of yank it and just flip this barrel around, and you'd have this bull rope, which I bought a real bull rope because there's a certain kind of thing that cowboys use to put on the bull. And you hop on one hand. You can't let the other hand touch. I'm not sure how familiar you are with rodeo.
Yeah.
Rodeos come around here like the PBR, Professional Bull Riders Association. And
I've just seen one rodeo at Universal City Walk.
Oh yeah,
That's about it.
well, City Walk.
I think so. It's around
Saddle
like
Ranch.
Yeah,
Just
probably.
the bucking machine.
Yeah, just the machine.
The machine is used to. They use that to train on at times. I've ridden those to kind of train to be a bull rider. But once again, my dad would never let me do it because you can get really hurt. I mean, bull riding is. I call it the original extreme sport, except the skateboard comes back to get you. I mean, it is vicious. Not to get too far into this because I know this is not what this is all about, but
I know it is what it's about. Let's go.
The bull. There's a bull rope, and the part you put your hand in is almost like a little handle. It's
like a doorknob.
well, no, not think of a suitcase handle.
Okay.
But how can I put this? Shoot. Wish I had something to put. Well,
okay, like that.
Here we go. You see this? Can you see this right here? Now this part here, it's a rope, and you put one side. There's a little handle that goes. I can't even do this. Your hand will go through this thing here.
Or you're over here.
I think okay. Hey, your hand will go into this rope, so it's almost like a little loop, and then you pull it tight, and this thing, of course, gets snug around the bull. Then you put the other side of the rope goes through here and wrap it around the back of your hand. Now, if you fall off on this side of the bull, there's a little slack, and you can kind of go down the side of the bull and just fall off. Sometimes you fall off on this side of the bull, this little wrap will get you caught up on the bull. And you'll see from time to time the bull riders get hung up. So this bull is, that's not how it always happens, but that's one of the culprits of getting a bull rider, stuck on this bull. And picture this literally 1,500 to 2,000 pound bull spinning, kicking.
Uncontrollably.
All he wants to do is get you off his back, and at times wants to rub your face in the ground with his horns. I mean, that's his own, and he will sleep well and eat well after he does. He just wants you off, and he wants to kill you. Now, some of them just want to get you off and they run off.
So, have you ever gotten just like caught?
I've never ridden a bull. I've ridden, horses that have thrown me off, but my dad would never let me ride a bull because of fear of things like that.
Yeah.
But sometimes these guys get spun around and just horns are flying. It is a vicious sport. And that's what I wanted to do as a kid. I had a poster on my wall of a bull rider, among other things, but had him next to my Michael Jackson poster. But I wanted to be a bull rider as a kid. I'm glad I didn't do it because the longevity in that sport, unless I went into broadcasting after the fact or whatever, but the longevity, I've been pretty fragile. I've broken bones in the radio station studio before.
Oh, Jesus.
Do you know that story?
No.
But so I'll get to that in a second. But imagine if I were a bull rider, how easy I could have broken my body if I've broken bones inside a radio studio.
I don't know if I'd be talking to you right now.
Probably not, unless you were in that world. But so I wasn't a bull rider, but that's where my head was as a kid. And so that's what was available to me. So eventually I got a job. My dad introduced me to a little AM station, which was basically a mom and pop station in Baytown, Texas. And nobody, no kids, your buddies in high school. Or it was the year before high school when I started working there. So none of your buddies listened to this station. It wasn't the cool station, but they did air Friday Night Football. It was the local station for the high school football games, and so that's the only time anybody really listened to it. There was a show middays called Tradio where you called up and you sold lawnmowers and pies and stuff like that. Little old ladies would call you. I hosted that a couple of times.
You would sell those on air?
Yep, you would be on the radio. And I never hosted this show full time, but because keep in mind, I was the year before high school, so junior high to high school that year. And granted, it sounds impressive. You're starting super early, but it was a tiny station, so it wasn't like KIIS FM.
You're still starting super early.
I was starting super early, but it wasn't at a KIIS FM or a Los Angeles, a real 92.3. But that Tradio show, you'd go on the radio, like you take a call. Hey, this is Jimmy. I got a lawnmower, about a year old. It works pretty good. Sometimes you have to pull it once or twice, but it's all right. And I want to sell it for $30. My number is da-da-da-da-da. Now, all right, thanks, Jimmy. And you write it down. take a few more calls. Maybe 3 or 4 or 5 calls later. Hey, that guy that called up earlier, Jimmy with the lawnmower. What's his number? Oh, that's his number. Da, 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 da. And that's how people would sell stuff on the radio.
Wow.
And it became super popular in that amongst that little the older crowd and mom and pops and whatnot. And little old ladies would, hey, I want to bring you a pie up there. Oh, what kind of pie you got? I had apple pie. And they bring you this pie, and it's the greatest pie you ever had in your life. It's just that's the tradio.
That's really cool.
It's pretty neat
because it helps out the mom and pop shops over there too, and it brings business to them.
Totally, it was 100% mom and pop. It was zero corporate, nothing corporate in that bill. It was such a small radio station. I did my first full-time job that I got there, which I didn't do it for long because it's like I say full-time over the summer, but I did it 4 or 5 nights a week. The guy that was doing the overnight Cajun show, he was Jimmy the Cajun. Well, I'm just making up a name. Jimmy the Cajun, and it's like kind of crazy country Cajun, whatever. I couldn't even give you an example of what it was, but the police showed up and arrested him for writing bad checks. And I'm up there like, holy. And my dad was.
Is this real?
This is 100% real. Now my dad was a police officer in a different area, which he was the one that dropped me off there. But he wasn't the one that arrested him. He was a different. Although it would be funny if he did give me a job, but my dad had nothing to do with that. But this guy got arrested for writing bad checks, and they took him. He went off, and I was like, well, I'll host it until he comes back or whatever. And they let me host this thing for a while. And I guess I don't know if he came back or not. I forget. But that's how when people ask me my first full-time job, I always bring that up. Although it wasn't full-time in the sense where I was hired for a year. I mean, it's a summer.
You were getting paid full-time.
I get paid, to do it 5 days a week or whatever, 4 or 5, because a dude got picked up by the cops. So
that's crazy.
Isn't that nuts, man? I mean, the police showed up for I don't know what he was writing bad checks for. Who knows? And then I got to be on the radio full-time.
I mean, it was opportunity meets preparation at that point.
True. And once again, it was a small station. I mean, very few people listen to it aside from those specialty shows, the football games, the Friday night football games, or whatever day it was. Yeah, and the Tradio middle of the day when I hosted that. That's probably the 2 most well-known shows.
See, I didn't actually realize that they would do solicits over the radio like that, because it makes me think about how much more needed. I mean, not to say that was like a mandatory show, the Tradio thing, right. But like, I guess the demand for radio was a lot more expensive back then because you could do so many more things. Nowadays, you just need to pull up an app. You could just do, like Facebook. I could sell some stuff over here right now. Yep, it's today's environment with radio stations. And I think this applies to TV stations as well, or any media. If you're on and maybe even to social network, if you're on just one thing, it's going to collapse on you. But I think you need to be multiple, but especially for traditional radio and TV. I mean, there is a value to radio and TV, but you can't just do that. Like I said, as we kick this thing off, if you look at yourself as content, or think of radio stations as content, if you're listening to them on radio, that's just one place they get their, Well, even an example, like televisions are going to like Netflix and Hulu just to get their shows on those streaming platforms.
Yep.
Because they know people, first of all, don't always have cable, but everyone does have internet for the most part.
Right. Netflix has really changed the game in a lot of ways. I mean, the simple thing that the first thing that really hit me about Netflix and why it was so different is the entire season goes up, so I don't have to wait till next week to watch.
You can just waste your whole weekend.
Yeah, you just binge and lose. Who needs Wednesday? Who's gonna watch the whole thing? So, but there's so many game-changing things happening, and I don't know. It's a real exciting time to be in. Like people say, I love being in radio, but I love the fact that we are in multiple. We're not just we're in everything, or if you want to be good at it, you got to be in everything. Otherwise, you'll be gone, 100%. Dude, you hear that pitcher Tyler Skaggs? Good God.
Oh yeah, that just happened yesterday, huh?
Yeah, they're doing a conference now about it. I don't know what happened to him, but
I mean, even if we want to talk about that, right? The way news. I know my parents used to get a lot of their news from television and from radio too, but nowadays, again, it just shows up as a notification on your phone. That's why, like, there's that constant struggle between, like, how necessary is television news? How necessary is even like Twitter at that point if we're just getting notification after notification on our phone without us even like knowing?
I think that television news falls in the same category as radio, and anything really. You have to grow and kind of evolve. But if there's a news app like Nico's news app, and you're doing pretty good on it, But if they said, "Hey, do you want a network source? Do you want to be on NBC every night?" Well, heck yeah, you would jump on that in a hot second because there are viewers for that. But you wouldn't leave you wouldn't trash the app. You would just make it the app and NBC. So I think being multiple is the key because why do just one? This is the era where you can do multiple things. You don't have to be just. Back in the day, there was just one thing to choose from. Now you got. I think it's changed interviews too, because I'm a big interview guy, and I love conversations and interviews, and like you're doing here. I think back in the day, you've heard the phrase that when you do an interview, it's all about the artist.
Of course.
It's all about the artist, and there's a lot of truth to that. But I've put a lot of thought into this. I think, and not that it's all about that statement, but and I don't even know who said that, but there's some truth to it. But I think that statement was initially said way back in the day when there were probably three networks and maybe 2 radio stations in the market. So basically, any time an artist came into to do an interview, everything he said or she said was an exclusive. Right now, there are pretty much no exclusives. Anything. They do happen, but you can't make a living on them.
Yeah.
So if an artist wants to release some information, I just broke my leg. Snap, boom, it's everywhere. Now, sometimes at iHeart, we'll have a single release, which is basically a big promo campaign, and we'll have a Taylor Swift song at the top of every hour. Or you'll do, whoever,
We'll play Drake every hour, every
hour.
day.
If a Drake song comes out, you've got 7 versions in a half an hour rotating. It's just, and that'll be in conjunction with the artist. They'll set it up. But as far as like on a daily, just information, when an artist comes in, there aren't many exclusives. But the one thing you do have that nobody else has is you. So you got to make people want to get that same info, which they're probably going to get somewhere else, from you in your own way.
Yeah.
That's the key. Because I think I have a way about doing my interviews. I'm super quirky. I'm super I'm super nerdy. I'll ask Snoop Dogg about Ghost. Because I'm obsessed with the paranormal, which is another thing. And just that interaction, I don't think you get a lot of places just the way I do it. And the same thing with you. You have a certain way about you. Maybe it's the set. Maybe it's it's something unique about you, which makes. Because I've done this. I've done interviews before, and I've told some of these stories before. Not all of them, but most of them. If you really were like a super JoJo fan, like there's any super JoJo fan, there is. I have 7 fans. That's what I say. But you can't bank on that. What you're giving them is the way you do it. You are the exclusive with your interview. So how do you make them get the same info from you as opposed to somebody else? Or at least if they get it from somebody else, at least want to come to you too. Like for example, the Jonas Brothers. I every time an artist comes in, I try to get, and sometimes I do this just without thinking. Maybe it's just a habit, or maybe it's just naturally what I do, or maybe at a certain point it became a strategy though. Every time an artist comes in, there's got to be a unique thing that goes on between me and that artist. Justin Bieber, way back when he first came in, I noticed I was taller than him, and that rarely happens for me. So I'm like, all right, let's just do a little measure here, And then over the years, we started to see who was taller.
And he was like what, 10 years old?
Oh, he was not. I don't know if he was 10, but he was pretty young. He was super young. And of course, over the years, and probably 3 or 4 years ago, he walks backstage at one event. And I wasn't thinking about the height battle. It was backstage at a Wango Tango or Jingle Ball. And first thing he yells from across the room, "Still taller than you." I'm like, God, this little thing stick. And, Shawn Mendes came in, and he's so tall that I stood on a box to measure him, I guess my thing with Shawn, we've talked tattoos a bunch, Jonas Brothers. I don't know how this happened, but I was doing a interview with Nick. Excuse me. This is when Nick was doing his solo stuff before they got back together. Nick Jonas, yeah. Before they got back together as a group, which just recently happened. And Nick, we do this interview, and it's time to take some promo shots, because we always take some pics. I said, Nick, let's do something a little different, something, because the same old pics, just whatever. He goes, all right, Jojo, won't you, and this is when he was doing that UFC, that fighter MMA kind of show.
Yeah.
And Nick is buff, and they're all great guys. He goes, okay, I'm gonna do some push-ups, and you sit on my back, and that'll be kind of funny. Fair enough. So he gets on the ground, and the first thing I think of, I wasn't really, I just thought, well, I'll hop on him. I'll just get on him. Well, apparently there's a way to do it. I should have side saddle hopped on him, but I rode Nick Jonas like a horse. And apparently I've been given hell for 5 years on riding Nick Jonas like a horse. And then,
you forgot where the little hook was.
That's my rodeo days come back. I'm like, I'm on this thing. So he, my boss, John Ivey, just rails me, in a funny way, and we joke that Nick should have a restraining order on me after all. And then a few months after that, we go to some jingle. We were at our Jingle Ball, or I keep Jingle Ball or Wango Tango. They get, I don't know what it was, but one of our shows. I walk in backstage, and I'm carrying a bag, has a MacBook in it, and I hear, hey, Jojo. I look up, and it's Nick. So I go to give him the bro hug. What's up, Nick? Oh, my God. Grab his hand like that. You got to do the back pat thing.
Yeah.
And as I'm leaning in to do the back pat, my MacBook swings and hits him right in the junk. And sometimes you kind of like play it off, just like, oh, but he hits the ground, Nico. I was like, oh God, oh my God, Nick, I'm so sorry, dude. I mean, kind of laughing, but I know it hurt. And then I turn to I look to the side, and like, there's Demi Lovato. I'm like, oh, hey, Demi, what's up?
She's like, nope.
Like, stay away from me.
I don't want any of that.
So now we have these interviews. When I talk to the Jonas Brothers, I'm like, first of all, let me apologize. I'm not going to touch you, Nick. And it just goes from there. So there's a history there. So you try to create something with each one. And I can guarantee you, nobody that interviews the Jonas Brothers has had those encounters. So I bring that up just to show this unique relationship, and there's a closeness. And when it comes to the Backstreet Boys, I've known them forever. I just did an interview with those guys at the Grammy Museum. One of my favorite interviews of all time. Just so much history there between us. And when the new ones come in, I try to get that thing. It's sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't.
See, to me, it sounds like that thing, like that moment that you've built with Justin Bieber, Nick Jonas, the Backstreet Boys, all comes from just consistency and seeing each other over the years.
At time, yeah, it does.
Like, you know what I mean? Like there's moments where I meet people and then automatically there's that thing that just sparks, but that's very rare. But then something like this, especially in this industry, I feel like that consistency that you have with these big name people, something can't form unless you're doing it week by week, year by year.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I'm super shy, but I'm real friendly, and maybe I'm kind of, and I don't mean this in a complimentary to myself, but maybe I'm kind of lovable in a non-threatening way, because you love me. But I'm not like a threatening dude, like, hey, what's up? I'm just, hey, what's up? And it's I can't help it. But maybe I'm not threatening for starters, but people tell me stuff that they wouldn't tell somebody a little more, I've had 50 Cent tell me about, I'm sure he's told the story to you guys, but or was it the game? No, 50. God, which one? Shot execution style.
You can't mix them up, man.
Oh man, you can't because there's who got shot execution style? Was that the
50?
Okay, he told me that story, and I was like, holy Jesus, dude. I mean, he's such a powerful figure in my eyes. He's just from just being big and just to a business standpoint. He's just I don't know. He's done it.
Yeah.
And to hear these crazy stories, and I was just in awe of this. Oh my God. And you survived getting shot on top of. I mean, getting shot is frightening enough as it is, but execution style. How do you survive? I mean, it's just I don't know. That's beyond me. But it's just people have told me some wild stuff, and I think it's just because that I'm just I don't know. I don't try to be who I'm not. I've over the years become comfortable in my own skin. I used to try to be. I got to be cool like Howard Stern, And it just doesn't work. If I say something like Howard Stern, I just feel like it's slime ball. Not that he's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But I just can't go that road because it's just not me.
But I feel like, especially me going to college at Cal State LA and me having a mentor like Anthony Cox. He's been on like NPR such and such, and he would tell all of us in the beginning of the class like, stop trying to sound like a TV personality. Stop
Agreed.
trying to sound like a radio personality. You being in this game for so long, like, how do you just sound like JoJo?
You know what? This is years ago. I thought, because when I first started, and I don't know if this was a thing or it's just in my head, but every radio dude, or well, I was looking at dudes because I'm a dude, every radio guy had that powerful voice. Good evening, everybody. It's 10 o'clock, that guy. And that's probably not what it really was, but in my head, I'm like, you got to have a deep voice. And my voice is so high and just squeaky, and there was nothing cool about me. But I learned that sometimes what you consider a weakness may be your strength. And I learned that. I'm a Michael Jackson fan, and controversies and all that stuff aside, Michael, he was so unique, and when put his music and everything aside, when he spoke, he had this high-pitched, "Hi, I'm Michael Jackson," and some.
Yeah.
And nobody talked like that. And when he talked, it stood out. And I'm thinking, it really there was a light bulb moment. Like, man, if most people would probably try to change that up, or don't sound like that because it's just he doesn't fit into a norm or a category.
Yeah.
But that perceived by some imperfection was really what set him apart.
That's true.
I mean, to this day, years after his death, if you go, "Hi, what's going on?" So, okay, Michael. They just think you're being Michael. There's so many, his little trademarks, the white socks, the glove, the the grabbing his crotch, the this, all that, so many things. I mean, any one of those is a career changer, and he's got a ton of them. The moonwalk, which granted he didn't officially. I mean, there's a guy he got that from, that old school dude, which I think he's given credit to. I think he was good about giving credit to other people, but he took it and kind of made it his own. But all these trademarks, like the moonwalk, is a great example. I mean, good God! I mean, that's on.
I mean, everyone does that
on Instagram today.
I saw your daughter do it.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. I see there's people doing it today, and granted, they're doing some parody or whatnot, or who knows, but. This is a guy that his peak was years ago. I mean, Michael's peak was in the, let's say, 90s, give or take, But he made such an impact that people are still doing it because he was unique and he wasn't afraid to do his own thing. And I think that's a lesson for all of us. I mean, don't like your Anthony Cox.
Yeah.
I don't know Anthony, but I have to agree with him. Don't try to sound like somebody else, man. Do you. And of course, you got to find the marketable version of you versus what may not work. And that's just you kind of fish with things. You fish, do a bite, yay, let's use that. Throw something out, then you move on from that one. But it is just I don't know. It's just super fascinating. Finding who you are and what works. What's true to Nico that works, and what's true to Nico that forget that part. That I don't know. To me, I got that from. The Michael. And granted, I don't sing, but his uniqueness, the tape on his fingers,
the idea of it.
Yeah, he was so unique, and he branded himself so well, and there's something to be learned from that.
And then you find yourself to brand that over initially from Texas, and then where do you move from Texas?
From Texas, I worked at a radio station or two in Texas. I worked at the mom and pop station. I actually worked at two mom and pop stations, little tiny stations. I worked at an FM in Texas in Beaumont. I eventually moved to Anaheim. And a lot of these moves were quick hits. It wasn't like I've been at KIIS for 20 years, but take that away. It's ridiculous, I know. I'm not sure if they can't get rid of me or I can't get rid of them. But a lot of these were like 6 months, 3 months, 2 months, that kind of stuff. But I went to Anaheim. At a station called KIIS, which I think is still there. It's right down the road from Disneyland. Charlotte, North Carolina. That's where I met my wife at. We didn't get married, we met her. Then I moved to Dallas. Then I moved to San Francisco. Then we started dating long distance. And after I went to San Francisco, I got fired in San Francisco. Went to work in Philadelphia.
Fired?
Yeah, they fired me.
Why'd you get fired?
They
was this from Wild?
Wild in San Francisco is known as Wild 94.9 now, but I was working there when it was called Wild 107.
Okay.
And I was fired by a program director. They were going a different direction, meaning away from me. we had just launched this station. Wild had just launched, and KMEL was the big station. And KMEL is still a massive station up there. I mean, they're both massive stations. But I went to work for a station called, it was KSOL at the time. And they brought me in because they were about to change to Wild 107. So I started working at Wild 107, and KMEL was the dominant station. I mean, it wasn't, no comparison. We start chipping away, and then I go on vacation for a week to LA, and I get a call from my buddy. It says, seems like, did you get replaced? And what are you talking about? The people that were filling in for me, basically all the elements changed. I'm like, what the heck? Because normally when somebody fills in for you, they just kind of do your bits, or not your bits, but they just kind of like.
Well, all the elements are there, but then they kind of just they literally just fill in the voice tracks.
Exactly. They changed everything. So I call up like, hey, are we good? Yeah, we're going to go a different direction, but I will talk to you when you get back. So when I got back, they gave me my ratings bonus. I was the first on the station to hit number 1 since the changeover. I hit number 1 at nights. Nights has been my thing for a while. So I hit number 1. They gave me a little parting gift, a little bonus, whatever, and then I was off. So I was out of a job for like a month, then got a job in Philly, and I took a few weeks to move to Philly just to kind of relax for a second. Went to Philly. Then the boss that fired me in San Francisco, he got fired, and the general manager got fired. Not necessarily because of me, but, I'd like to think, but it wasn't the case. But they got fired, and then another guy came in, and he called me up. The guy who called me back was a guy named Michael Martin, who's now a big exec at CBS, or Intercom.
Yeah.
And I still love him, but he called me, and I'll never forget my answering machine. Like, hey, it's Jojo and Dina, my wife Dina. Leave a message, beep. Old school answering machine. And I hear this guy go, he was imitating Beavis and Butthead, because we'd always joke about Beavis and Butthead, old school. And I hear this guy go, you want to come back and work in San Francisco? And I was like, dude, what's up? So I end up going back to San Fran with Michael, worked there for a little while. I got a call to go to Chicago, and I was going to fly to Chicago to interview at a station called B96, which is a massive station in Chicago. Heritage, been there forever. But they offered me a deal to stay in San Fran, so I stayed in San Fran. And eventually, where I wanted to be at was Los Angeles. And I got the offer to come to KIIS, but I got the offer to come to do overnights, which is not what I wanted. But I took it just because,
You needed to be in LA.
I wanted to be in LA. And eventually, we switched things around, and I got the slot that I wanted, and they moved, like, Valentine was doing nights, and they moved him to afternoons, which now he does mornings on my FM. A good buddy of mine. He's had a lot of success, obviously.
Shout out to his Uggs.
Yeah, him and his Uggs. I'm not sure what's up with that.
I got the same ones.
Do you?
FYI.
Are they? What am I missing on those? Are Uggs?
They're.
Oh, no, I'm thinking Crocs in my head.
No. The Ugg boots are extremely comfy.
Oh yeah, yeah. He does walk around with them Uggs quite a bit, and I need to get on the Ugg.
You
Ugg
do,
movement.
Joe. No, look, I swear, they're legitimately like pillows on your feet. You need those.
Maybe I need to get some Uggs. All right, yeah. Nico walked in the studio the other day, and I had some Vans on, and I just, sometimes in the studio I'm just like, you get so used to it there that I mean, I got my Vans on now.
He has his Vans on right now.
But I don't wear Vans a ton, but when I do, I usually end up taking them off, and I'm barefoot in the studio. He walked in, he looked at my feet, I'm like, oh, sorry, Nico, my shoes are off.
I walk in the studio, I'm like, man, you're comfy. You're in your zone right now.
So, but yeah, that's kind of my radio trip, so to speak. Philly, almost Chicago, San Fran. Well, I said that backwards, but yeah, eventually in LA, and I've been in LA for a little over 20 years now, which is it's mind-boggling to think, but I'm proud of it for sure.
Well, LA and New York, I feel like, is always the goal for any aspiring or anybody in the radio industry. And so, I mean, nowadays I'll be in the studio with DJ Head, and he'll remind me all the time, like, you're in the number 2 market. You're in the number 2 market. You're producing in the number 2 market. You're on air in the number 2 market. You're DJing, and I'm just like, wow, this actually really is a big deal, because anybody would kill to have this sort of position. I think even you guys just acquired Ralph. You guys just acquired somebody.
Oh, from Philly, yeah.
From Philly, yeah.
He's a dude. I don't know. I mean, I've just met him recently. He seemed like a super nice guy. He's going to do what we're calling early afternoons. I think he worked at Q102 in Philly, I believe. Real nice guy, And Philly's a big market as well. It's market 4 or 5, something like that. But you say LA is number 2, which population-wise, New York is number 1. But you could argue that LA is the number 1 radio market as far as just the finances of it. I mean, KIIS. We have been the number 1 billing station for quite a while. Now, granted, it doesn't come to me; it goes to Seacrest, But we've been the number 1 billing station for quite a while. I think we just got beat out by, as far as billing in a year, by a station in D.C. I want to say. I forget. Point being, it's L.A. overall pulls in more money for radio than New York usually. Yeah, and the only reason I can think is we have more people driving in cars.
That's true.
Than subway. And I don't know how New York works. I could be wrong. I know put your headphones in. And granted, we have the iHeart app and and all that stuff. I don't. Maybe there's some. Who knows?
Well,
but that's what I think.
KIIS has you.
It's because of the Jojo
it's because of you,
on the
Jojo
radio show. That's for damn sure. But no, I think I like my place in the radio world, and more important, I like where I'm going or where I'm trying to go. I've got a long way to go. I don't think I've ever had my best show. I think I've done some good stuff, but I don't think I've had my best show.
I mean, I've seen that you've made your way into television and like movies and music videos like from time to time. But how come you've not decided to make that permanent leap into that television realm?
You know what? I just haven't had the opportunity. I mean, it's been very elusive to me. It's if somebody said, "Hey, could you?" I wouldn't leave radio. I mean, I want to do both because I think there's some value in saying. I mean, there's so many TV hosts in LA, and this, hey, it's a TV host of this, and I got so many buddies that do that. But when you're, hey, that's Jojo on the radio, and he's on TV. That's if like when I walk onto the set of KTLA, which is God, I think they're phenomenal. That is a local news station that's
killing it,
kills it. I mean, not to say when I go up there everything's perfect behind the scenes. They have their issues, and just like KIIS FM or real,
don't say too much.
But they're almost perfect in the sense that they're just so LA, and it's just they do such a good job. And if KTLA came to me and says, "Jojo, we want you to be full-time on whatever slot," I would do it in a second. But they haven't done that, and I would love that. But I would still do KIIS because that's Jojo on the radio from KIIS. Oh my, I know that dude.
Going back to your point to having multiple streams and
100%.
multiple pieces of content.
100%. There's something to be said about doing a few things. Like just to be a random host on a random show. I mean, that's cool, but I mean, there's a lot of people that do that. What you've got started at Real, that's Nico from Real. And he does, oh my God, that's the dude. Or it kind of adds more to your name, more to your reputation. So I think it built up a nice rep. So if I did a KTLA or whatever network, to say that's Jojo on the radio doing TV now, it kind of has a little cool ring to it. I built up a history that can kind of hopefully propel me into this next jump. But I would do that. I mean, I guess to answer your question, it's been very elusive. It hasn't been my choice to not do it. I've been searching, and I'm still searching. But it's just the right one hadn't clicked. I mean, I was a judge on a reality show at one point years ago on NBC, but it only did one season. I was a judge with Johnny Wright, who was the manager of Justin Timberlake. The 3 judges were me, Johnny Wright. So 2 Wrights, it was weird. But he's a great...
NJs.
Yeah, no kidding. That's true, yeah. And Carney Wilson, who was in an old school group called Wilson Phillips, which her dad was like... I think her dad... They were at the Beach Boys kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That. The hosts were Debbie Allen, the famous dance teacher. It was called Fame on NBC. And Debbie Allen was also on the TV series Fame, the dance... And Joey Fatone of NSYNC was one of the hosts. So I've known the NSYNC guys forever. And... but that only went one season, so I'm still looking for that show. Recently, a company called Wrigley Media has hit me up, and we'll see where this goes. But they've hit me up for a paranormal show, and they've already shot the sizzle.
I mean, you love that.
I can't get enough of it.
See,
oh
so now that you bring that up, like what? Every time I come over, maybe not every time, but then I will see that you're into like some paranormal stuff. I think you had asked me one time, like, "Yo, do you know anybody that has any like paranormal stories?" Like, what draws you toward that particular genre of life?
You know what? I think when I don't know if this is why I became interested in the paranormal, but years ago, my mom, we didn't have, we had no money. I lived in a mobile home, nothing bad about that. I had a great childhood, but just the backstory is we were, cutting corners, So she'd go to I recall she'd go to take us to get some food. And I recall for some reason KFC and Subway. Those are the two. I'm sure she took me to other places too. Taco Bell. Oh, my God. But we would go get some food, and then we'd go sit in a graveyard. And the reason she would do that, we weren't visiting old Uncle Henry that had passed. I'm just making up a name. But she thought it was pretty. And maybe she sat on the outsides. If I think back, we probably sat on the outside of the grave. But I would start to kind of peek in there like, man, this is just... they're creepy. And there's some beautiful, there's some beautiful aspects of it too when you go visit family members and whatnot. But there's a fascinating, creepy, there's the horror movie playing in the back of your head, like what if, and I think it kind of stemmed from that. And and I was, I'm a spiritual guy. I say that meaning I don't always go to church, but you have a
relationship.
I have a relationship with the
man upstairs.
With the man upstairs,
whatever you want to call it.
And I think there's a tie there. I mean, because people say if you believe in God, then you shouldn't deal with this paranormal stuff. And maybe there's a danger there. I get it. But I guess I feel protected because of my relationship with the man upstairs. And there is a tie there. Ghost spirits that cross over. It's the same thing. We're just labeling it a little bit differently. When somebody passes, there is something that's going on the other side that I will never know all the answers to, and maybe I'm not supposed to know, but there's more to it than just this, and I find that these paranormal investigations and my curiosity with it is just super fascinating because A, I always want to know more, B, I'll never know everything, and to me it's all about the stories people tell. People that I believe. Some people there's some people tell you these stories and they're full of crap. There's just, dude, come on. But there are some people that when you hear these things, you're like, man, they don't seem like they're lying to me. They certainly believe it. Maybe there's something, they're missing out on, and who knows? Maybe there's something happened, there's a rational explanation of whatever. But there's so many, there are a handful of stories out there that are unexplainable, and I find it super fascinating.
Well, I heard this quote the other day, and I'm really about to butcher it, but they said that desire is not having something fully. And I think when it comes to the paranormal stuff, there's always that mystery, like you said, like what if.
True.
So you know what I mean? True. Like you want it to either be true or not, but you're never ever going to get that definite answer.
It is I'm not sure how much time we have left, but we got 3 minutes left. How long have we been going here?
57 minutes.
Oh, cool. How long am I allowed to talk?
Do you have time?
I'm
good. We can talk forever.
Oh, cool.
Let me just reset these cameras really quick.
We're going to reset and be right back after these messages.
So back to the paranormal.
When you reset the cameras, what are you doing?
I'm literally just pressing on and off again.
Oh, gotcha.
Because then they cap out after like every 30 minutes.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I was just curious behind the scenes of Nico here. Okay. What was I saying? The paranormal. Shoot. Whoa. Isn't that crazy how you can, for 1 second, and I'm like, what the heck was I talking about? Anyway.
Desire and not having everything fully.
Yeah, when it comes to the paranormal, we'll never know. But I'm convinced there's something out there. And when I do these investigations, sometimes I do investigations. Rarely do you see stuff, but every now and then something will kind of like I've had doors slam on me that can be explained. But what was it? I was in a hotel in King of Prussia, which is outside of Philly.
Here we go.
Yeah, and this is a place I lived at, and and granted, there are, when you live it was a high rise, and when you live in a high rise or any building, there are safety features that will, if there's a fire, the door will shut because they don't want the fire to spread. And this is not what I'm basing my paranormal love on or my belief or non-belief or whatever. This is just something interesting. But I'm in the room one day. First of all, a couple of weird things that happened. We had some lights dim on and off in our house on command, which I thought was crazy. My wife saw that. Could be an electrical malfunction, 100%. You got me. This could be an electrical malfunction. I'm in an elevator, or in the room waiting for the elevator, and there's, it's like a little hallway with 3 elevator, kind of like at iHeart. There's a room for elevators.
Got you.
And doors on either side, like 2 double doors. So both are open on each side. And I'm standing there, and all of a sudden, ba-da-da-dam! They all slam. This is after all these other things that have been happening in the building. Now, I'm sure there's a safety switch to where the doors will shut. because, once again, fire happens. You don't want the fire to spread. I didn't hear an alarm go off. Once again, still, it might be nothing. But the thing that throws me off is, if there were a little old lady sitting there, it would have not, literally, this door shut so hard, it would have knocked her out, if not broken bones. And depending on her state, it could kill. It really slammed hard. All 4 doors. Once again, don't at me. It could be a safety feature. But I turned whiter than I am. And I went knocked him. I opened the door. Oh, geez. I went back and said hi to my wife. She said, of course, you look like you saw a ghost. I'm like, I might have. Then I start thinking back. When we were looking for a place to live, and we went and checked this place out, and this guy came out, and he goes, and I didn't realize it at the time, and it still might not mean anything. But this guy says, "Look, I can get you into this apartment. I'll pay your first month's. He had rented the apartment, but he wanted to sublet it. So in other words, he wanted to get out early, so he paid for us to kind of move in and gave us all these discounts. So because he had to cover for the deal he signed.
Okay.
So I thought nothing of it at the time, but he gave us this crazy deal, paid our first month, and just making chit chat. I'm like, "Oh, are you by yourself?" I see somebody because we're looking at the place. Oh, my girlfriend, she had to get out. She wanted to move back to the city. Didn't think anything of it, but now, after all this stuff happened, what I think happened is something scared his girlfriend.
Hell no.
So he paid for our first month or so to get out of it because his girlfriend already took off. Didn't tell us anything because he would probably feel stupid telling us this, or we wouldn't rent it. Does that not all piece together in a way? Once again, it could be nothing.
That definitely does.
So,
yeah.
It was super interesting. We ended up moving out of there because I came back to LA.
How long were you actually in there for?
About 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
I came back. We didn't leave because of that, but I got the offer to go back to San Francisco. Remember the guy that the Beavis and Butthead called,
there wasn't any weird stuff happening within that 4 or 5 month span?
Just the dimming of the lights on command.
Gotcha.
If anybody's in here, can you lower the lights? And it was just the lights I'm near, just these lights.
I would have left if I was you immediately.
It was pretty wild.
No.
And this is after I did a ghost investigation in Philly, when the theory is sometimes they follow you home, which I don't know if that's true or not, but it kind of all adds together. I did an investigation at this kid's house. They had some ghost sightings, so I took a psychic over there and we did all this and that. And I didn't see anything at the house, but the theory is sometimes they will follow you back, unless you kind of cleanse yourself.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever done a Ouija board?
Yep.
Oh, I can't.
I've only done them on
I can't.
On the radio. And I guess there's 2 kind of investigations where
In KIIS?
Yeah. Well, there's a Ouija board. Here's the funny thing. I keep the Ouija board for
You're not going to see me for the next couple months. I'm not going over.
I'll tell you where it's at too. But I've only done investigations with the Ouija board for radio effect, because I don't know if I would do it just on my own, because it is kind of a freaky thing, but it freaks people out. So I'll bring it out at these crazy locations, and I can't say I've ever seen anything really work. I just don't know what I think about the Ouija board, because the fact that you could at one time buy it at Toys R Us takes away some of the sting for me.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, you're at this crazy haunted location with the Ouija board. It is kind of weird. But the funny thing is, I have it. We keep it at the station for Halloween, but you know where I put it at?
I don't want
the lockers next to Seacrest, because I figured if it's going to haunt anybody, I want it to haunt Seacrest. So if you see my
That's evil.
I know it is.
That's
evil.
evil.
So don't tell them. But it's they have these little lockers to store crap in, and you'll see my locker down there that has a lock on it, because I stash all my good headphones in there. But 2 lockers over, unlocked. Just go in there and you'll see a Ouija board in there, and that's where I stash it. So if it haunts anyone, it's going to haunt Seacrest. Although he's not in there, but he's usually in New York. But whatever. But that's it's an interesting thing. The people freak out about the Ouija board. I've heard some wild stories. People burn their Ouija board. It appears back, in their house.
Nothing's crazy happened to you while using the Ouija board at the station, right?
No, I've never. We've rarely used it at the. Well, I should clarify. I haven't used it at the station.
It's just there.
It's just there, and we'll bring it to locations. And I always keep it in my trunk, and we're always like, yeah, don't touch this thing. But it's great for Halloween bits. But I've never. It's moved when we've done it, but I'm always convinced that somebody's pushing. Because I'm not pushing it, or am I? I don't know. It's hard to tell if it's moving or not. One lady called me, or one guy called me up. He could be lying. He said, it was 3 people. One of the people, their hand got stuck on it, like almost like it burned onto their hand, the little cursor or plant. What do you call the thing?
The glass.
Yeah, the glass. Yeah, and it kind of burnt onto her hands. Like, what the heck? What the heck is going on? That's a story I hadn't heard, ever. Like the thing burning to their hand. I've heard things, the thing flying, lights going out, candles blowing, doors slamming. None of which I've seen. But it's a hot button for people. If I do a question tonight, hey, have you ever played with the Ouija board? Phones, crazy stories. And those make that's great conversation. Whether it's true or not, I don't know.
Well, I think in just a couple minutes, I'm actually going to leave my apartment. I don't feel comfortable with just being here for another couple hours before I got to head to the station.
Oh, God.
Jojo, great convo.
Dude, did I forget anything?
I don't know. I feel like we covered a lot of ground.
That's my little world. And it's an honor to be here with you, man. I know congrats on everything in your career. Whatever I can do for you, let me know.
Man, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Well, I have that on camera now, so
let me know.
Anything you say will be used against you, and such and so forth.
And by the way, always, you got to find your thing you're known for. And I've got a couple of things I'm known for as well. And one thing that happened by accident, and we'll end it like this. And some things happen organically. At the end of every interview I've always done, or for the last probably 5 years, who knows how long. I'm not sure when it started. I'll do a fist bump to make it official. But when I was filling in for Sam over at KTLA, this is when I realized it was a thing. I was filling for Sam Rubin at KTLA, and I did some interview with whoever it was. And I would say, fist bump to make it official, bam. And I did it with 3 or 4 guests. And Frank, the main anchor in the morning, Frank, he's the whole crew is great. But Frank leaned over and says, that's your thing, isn't it? Or something like that. I said, yeah. And I'm thinking, in my head, I'm like, well, I guess it is my thing. I just did it.
Oh, wow.
So that was one of those things where I was doing it without knowing it. And then when I realized what I was doing, oh my God, I've got something. So there may be something you're doing now that you don't know that you can take. Oh my God, I can brand this. Like Michael was probably walking around with white socks oh my God, I can use this on stage. There's something. Sometimes it happens organically. Sometimes you got to really rack your brain and think of it. But that's one of my things. At the end of every interview, fist bump to make it official.
Well, with that being said, also West Coast.
West Coast.
And
yay!